There are a lot of games people will tell you not to play. Ask a friend of yours if you can try out League of Legends with them sometime, and their demeanor will change instantly. They stare through you as 1,000 games of League flash before their eyes. Hard-fought victories, bitter defeats, and maybe just a little bit of hate speech. He says, turning back to his body pillow of a character he doesn't even play. Even though people put a ton of time into these games, I can understand why they have a hard time recommending them. Competitive games can be really rewarding, but dealing with variables outside of your control is infuriating. And people that have made it through a FODI-like experience look back and wonder if all of their effort was something somebody else would enjoy other than themselves and a few others. However, there is another type of game that people say you should never play. A type of game that feels like it's actively begging you to stop engaging with it, to move on. Watch a video essay about the game instead, or just skip to the sequel that is much more forgiving and meant for human consumption. They say you shouldn't play them not just because they're difficult or heavily luck-based, because they feel like they're not meant to be played at all. But if this is the case, if these games are truly unfair, unbalanced, disgusting games, then why do we still play them? People are gonna think I like bad games after this. That's all there is to it. When you've put a bunch of time into a game and are asked about how you feel about it, usually your first thoughts are of the challenges the game presented, even if that's not the first thing you talk about. Let's take Fury for example. I'd say it's a cinematic boss rush game with a simple but sweet story and a killer soundtrack. Now, let's look at Jump King. I'd say it's a straightforward platformer that tests your patience and precision with extreme punishments for making mistakes. Both passing elevator pitch explanations of the games. But notice how Jump King, while having pretty scenery, funny writing, and other notable features, the only thing I discussed was the challenges it presented. When a game has a unique amount or type of difficulty, it pushes its way into being the most important, prominent aspect of the game. This is one of the leading reasons I think even the most seasoned, die-hard fan of Fear and Hunger will recommend skipping the game, while still having 170 hours played on Steam. If you're unfamiliar, Fear and Hunger is a dark, brutal, and unforgiving turn-based RPG that's been picking up speed lately. There's no shortage of edgy games made in RPG Maker.
What the heck?
And this one is particularly grotesque. But that's not what caught my attention. When looking into what people were saying made this game stand out, I noticed a very similar pattern. They talked about the game the same way people talk about a game near and dear to my heart, Pathologic, even with the visuals looking like Skibbity Toilet. Both games have people recommending you watch a video essay, read a guide on how to play it perfectly, or even cheat to make the game more tolerable. Both considered unbalanced, unfair messes, with your fate being left up to complete chance multiple times throughout a single playthrough. Somehow, both of these games have sequels that most people recommend you go play instead of the original game. And in both cases, these sequels are considered better. Meant to be played by an actual human, didn't kick my dog like the first one did, etc. But even with all of the praise for the sequels, you'll find that most of the conversation revolves around the original games. So what's the deal? What is it about the terrible gameplay that has people coming to play them? The first thing I noticed is how incredible it feels to get any sort of upgrades. I was pogging out of my damn gourd when I picked up another party member. So I went online looking for other ways I could get stronger, and that's when it hit me like a brick. PT, a short horror game designed by Hideo Kojima, was not meant to be completed by one person, and it was specifically designed to foster discussion online through wildly cryptic puzzles that your average gamer could never figure out. So, when you go online to figure out why you've been looping the same hallway for 30 minutes, you're met with all sorts of discussions about the game and what others have found. While Fear and Hunger is completable without any guides, some of it isn't realistic and, in turn, gets people talking. Want a cool mage that's just ahead? Me too. Let's go over the steps. Find these yellow mages whose main goal is to separate you from your limbs as fast as possible. Despite this, talk to them and convince them you just want to join their cult, so they give you a talisman. Don't accidentally kill them though, there's only 2 of them in the whole game, and once they're dead, you'd have to reset. Find the Cube of Deaths, and travel into the city with it. Now, go all the way back to the start of the game, interact with this appetizing wall of flesh that the game warns you not to interact with while the talisman is equipped on a party member, and there's our lad. Answer all of his questions perfectly before his giant pet princess, who doesn't bite by the way, gets to you and he joins your party. It's just that easy. A seemingly random way to recruit a character that shows no signs of wanting to join your party initially, but each step is a breadcrumb that will pique your curiosity. Interacting with the flesh wall early on spawns a unique character that is completely unkillable. That has to be part of something, right? And maybe you decided to talk to the Yellow Mage because it was one of the rare enemies that looked like it was humanoid enough to talk. And what are you supposed to do with the talisman that they gave you? Maybe deep in the lore there's some hint that would help you tie the two together. But me and you both know your ass is googling Eclipse talisman uses or how to beat head guy. Normally, I hate looking stuff up, but 8 hours into a playthrough and risking a reset because I've just run out of torches pushes me over the edge. I always felt so justified when looking up where something was or what to do because of how outlandish the solution was at times. Like everyone says, it really does feel like it's not meant to be played by a human being. That means you'll have to play it this time around. Sorry, buddy. You'll figure it out. You can't even safely save in this game. Let alone consistently get through a fight without losing a limb. And after all this, I do agree. It's not best experienced by a single person, but instead a group of people all contributing what they've found to deal with the game's most unreasonable challenges. While I played through the game, I had friends reach out and ask how it was going, which it was almost always going poorly. And each time we talked, I always came away with a little bit more information. There's a dog in the caves you can recruit to your party. You can tear flags off the wall to get cloth. You can actually save at this spot. You can find a useful spell in this spot over here. And in these moments, it didn't feel like cheating or giving up. It felt like cooperating. Even finding a forum post of somebody with the same problem felt like notes left behind by somebody that had faced the same struggle I had. Working together with other people made the agony of resetting over and over so much more tolerable. The unfair environment the game created was a common enemy between you and everybody that came before you. I'm not trying to say that you should boot the game up and pull up a guide on the other monitor and follow it one-to-one. But if you are hating yourself enough to try the game out, don't be afraid to reach out. After all, misery loves company, and you'll find no shortage of it in the dungeons of fear and hunger. Yeah, this guy? Just click on him, that usually makes him go away. Or another weakness he has is clicking that video in the bottom right. I heard he hates that.